Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, we are going to be hosting a webinar all about growing your network and supporting your community using the Photofy Real Estate Solution. So if you're new to Fotify, Fotify is a brand management and content creation platform enabling brokers and agents to easily market their real estate business with all in the power of the mobile app that we provide for our users. So if you are new, I'm going to add a registration link into the description of this post. You have a 7-day free trial, and would definitely recommend jumping on that and exploring all the awesome options that we have for content creation, not to mention the thousands of content from templates to artwork, photos. So we have stock images, we have access to stock videos, as well as all of your drive folders and camera. And what's really nice is that we also provide some quick shares and scheduler. So we're going to dive into some of this today. But again, our main focus is going to be growing your network and supporting your community. So my name is Angelique Bolding. I'm the Director of Business Development here at Fotify. And I have been a Fotify Pro since 2015. So had the pleasure of growing alongside the brand and helping a lot of our real estate agents and brokers grow their businesses as well. So we work with a lot of partners within the Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Network, as well as the RE/MAX network. So if you're interested in learning about some of the programs that we have for them, please do ping me. My email is angel@fotify.com, and happy to give you additional information on that. The other link that I'm going to be providing in the description of this post is for our Photofy Real Estate Facebook group. So I love this community because it is a very collaborative community. Fotify is constantly adding new content and features and educational opportunities to that group. But more so, we love seeing the conversations that start amongst agents and brokers and really the community just helping each other in learning how to market their business. So highly recommend joining that group. And it's a great place to provide feedback for Fotify and myself if you have any questions or feedback for our team. All right, so diving in, we're going to be focusing on some do's and don'ts to growing your community, as well as some action items that you all can put into practice starting today. After that presentation, we'll go ahead and dive into a quick demo so you can see a little bit more about the Photofy Real Estate Solution. So if you've been on the fence, you've been thinking about, diving in and want to learn more about the product, we'll have a chance to dive in there. So the other thing I'd say is definitely have your questions ready. So if you have any questions, you can add them to, we're broadcasting live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and our Facebook channel. So anywhere that you feel comfortable or anywhere that you're tuning in from, we'll go ahead and make sure your questions are answered. All right, so the first order of business when building community, and this might not be a surprise to many, but being helpful. That is the simplest thing that we can learn, especially when it comes to just being human in the aspect of understanding your community and what your community needs are. So, point one being paying attention to what the needs are in our community. Now, we've all gone through the craziness of 2020 and 2021 and what seems to be ongoing in 2022 here. And one of the aspects of that is, we've really come to a time where people are needing a lot of help, guidance, even when it comes down to small things like, where can I find a good storage facility? What are some restaurants in my area? So one of the apps that I really love utilizing is the Nextdoor app. I've utilized this personally for finding recommended contractors, plumbers, whoever it is that I might be looking for. And of course, finding ways to stay engaged with the community or in my neighborhood. Another great aspect of the Nextdoor app is that it's a really good social listening tool. So you can learn what it is that your community seems to be needing at the time and respond by creating content around that. Nextdoor isn't exactly a place that you want to be advertising or, really trying to push sales there. But if you can comment as your individual self and provide help and say, hey, I'm a real estate agent in the area and I've got a really great plumber I'd love to recommend. a lot of times you'll find that people are really going to appreciate that information. So, some other ways that you can look at supporting your local community is, and especially when it comes to supporting local and driving some economic power into our local communities, sharing the local brands or those restaurants, if they're struggling, or you really found a hot spot in the area, share that on Nextdoor. Finding ways to partner with them and promote their post on social media is also a really great idea. It's really simple. It really doesn't take much effort to simply just share. Maybe your favorite restaurant has a new deal, or they've got a promotion going on, or maybe your favorite brand or small business boutique has some really awesome new products in stock. So think about doing a lot of the more local work, building that community up, and then you might even find that those business owners are more likely to share your content and engage with you. The other aspect is with the Photofy Real Estate Solution, you'll find a lot of opportunities to create content to promote those brands. So if you are partnering with them, it's as easy as snagging their logo, snagging a few pics from inside their store, and creating a really awesome piece of content using Fotify. And the next order of business, as I'm sure hopefully many of you can grasp by now, is the idea of consistency. So not only consistency in how you brand yourself. So when you think about your logo, your brand fonts, your brand colors, your brand text, and most importantly, your brand voice, but also utilizing the social platforms that you've identified to post consistently and post regularly. So if you're somebody that wants to post once a week, or maybe you're posting twice a week, at least set that expectation so that they understand this is when I can expect content from this individual. But you can allow your brand to make an impact and stay on theme, and while doing so, stand out amongst the competition. So when you're posting consistently and you have these consistent brand assets, people will start to identify your brand even if the logo isn't tied to it. So that's a really simple and small way that you can utilize your brand, building that brand equity, and utilizing Fotify to be able to craft your brand message and your brand image all within one mobile app. So leaving a lasting impression, creating content that humors, educate, informs, or invokes emotion in viewers. So think about how many times a day we're picking up our phone and we're consuming content. The last thing you want is to be creating content that people aren't going to engage with. So when you're adding something to your social platforms or you're creating content, think about what people need. And in doing so, you can be more consistent with hitting on the hearts of your viewers, your audience, and thinking through how can I add value to what they're consuming. So that's a really, really big point that I want to drive home here, is leaving that lasting impression and finding ways to provide value to your audience. So it's more than just attention seeking and wanting to get your brand out there. It's, hey, I see you. I know what you're looking for. I'm a member of the community too. And, let's work together to build this. Now, here's one that hopefully doesn't take too much effort, and it's just simply being kind. So this kind of drives back to our previous point of how to build community and the idea of finding ways that you can really be helpful. So kindness counts, being human, and it is amazing what will come back to you. So was I mentioned the idea of looking at some of your current, maybe your Rolodex, your network of people that you pull from. So is it your insurance agents that you recommend, your contractors? Maybe it's even, a local spa that you enjoy going to. Reaching out to your current and past clients just to see, how are you? Maybe you sold a house to them 6 months ago. What is it worth to just simply pass along a text that says, how are things going? Congrats on the move. Don't hesitate if I can reach out. Wanted to see if you have found some cool spots in the area. Here are a few of my favorites. And being able to create content around that not only amplifies your voice within the community, but it creates that trusted experience with your clients and customers. So that simplicity behind, can I help you with anything? Is there anything I can do for you? But be reassuring. One of the examples I've seen in my own community is a local real estate agent that actually bought a moving truck, and any of the individuals that work with her and any of the buyers or sellers that work with her are actually able to use that truck for free, which is, that might be a little next level, not within the means of everybody, but it's a really great example of ways that you can think out of the box to be helpful for your clients before they move, during their move, and even after their move. So they're thinking about you not just when they need a realtor for themselves, but they're thinking about you anytime somebody, their friends, ask about a realtor or ask about their experience buying or selling a home. So let's go over some do's. So I am super lucky. In my own community, a friend of mine is a Berkshire Hathaway Home Services real estate agent. So Home Sweet Heidi, I've been following her for a while, and her content is incredible. And when we talk about what it takes to build community, I really think that she is a prime example. And I've included a few things here that she's posted recently. So it goes from the human aspect of diving into like, what is a day in the life of a realtor? She's got her sweet daughter here where she's bringing her into the view, a working mom, which a lot of women and a lot of parents can relate to, but then also goes into, the nitty gritty of what happens when you're buying or selling a house. And even the aspect of, why is it so important to find a realtor that knows how to market your house? So some of the do's we've highlighted is highlighting others. And that goes back to the idea of highlighting some of that network that you're tuned into, being encouraging, sharing your story, your journey, your struggles, your ups and downs. So I love this point because we live in a time where authenticity really, really counts. People don't want to see, the polished aspect. I mean, we get it. Everybody is working their butts off to get to a certain point, and a lot of what we see is curated. But when you can take a step back and take them behind the scenes, it really humanizes the aspect of what you're delivering. And one of the points that's really great is being empathetic. So when you're humanizing that aspect and you're understanding your client, you're understanding their behaviors, you're understanding their struggles, that not only presents an opportunity for you to build content based off of how to be helpful, but it gives you a chance to be more relatable to that audience. And of course, we love some good news. The world is always filled with all the news that we have going on that's not so great, but it's really, really nice and very refreshing to actually see some good news once in a while. So one of the highlighted organizations I included here is the Good News Network.org. And I would also recommend Tank's Good News on Instagram. So a few accounts for you to go ahead and follow. And I would also recommend giving Home Sweet Heidi a follow if you want to have some really great marketing inspiration for your business. And lastly, think about some ideas for resources for family. One of the things that I've also seen Heidi do a lot is post different events or activities that she goes to. So whether that's a local park, it's some sort of activity that comes to the area of the triangle. So whether that's a play or it's some sort of kids activity, even if it's the state fairgrounds, going ahead and highlighting those aspects gives your clients, and whether again that's current or past clients, gives them an opportunity to engage with you for the long term. Now let's talk about some don'ts. Sometimes we think a lot of these are pretty self-explanatory and, no one's ever going to do this, but it still happens. And it's one of those feelings where you kind of feel a little embarrassed when you see it happen because you're like, not a good move. But not calling anybody out, it happens sometimes. Understanding and using best judgment is definitely key in these situations. But also having perhaps somebody within your network, whether that's your, fellow agents in your office or just a business partner, friend that, you can kind of have that accountability with. But the other thing I would say is mindlessly sharing inconsistent content with brand image or brand theme. So imagine you've got this perfectly curated, image of your profiles, your website, et cetera, but then you're sharing some random stuff. Not to mention starting to talk about things like politics or, we all have our personal opinions, which is respected, and utilizing platforms for that is great. But in a business sense, always wanting to be mindful that you're considering the whole, everybody within your community. Forgetting to credit the source of images or quotes used, always a big no-no, especially when you're dealing with any type of photographer. Hopefully at this point, we live in a space where people know not sharing Google images is kind of the best route. Fotify does have 500,000 plus stock images. So, and video. So, I mean, really, when you're working with, royalty-free images and wanting to find content, there's so much out there. But if you are somebody that is going and having photos done with a local photographer, always, always, always tag them. At some point, if you have an ongoing basis, it's fine to leave the tag off and, mention them maybe in the beginning of the series. So you can kind of give them a shout then. But crediting the source of images if you're selecting something new and sharing a one-off instant is always important. And definitely do not do that from Google unless you have those sources credited, because it's more often than not that algorithm is going to ding you for it. Door to door and posting flyers. So I feel like this is really a thing of the past. We're looking at a time where we have to respect people's privacy as well. And, understandably, you're trying to grow your business, but thinking outside the box and maybe avoiding ways that are too invasive is always a good route. So the last thing we want is, more flyers on our doors and in our mailboxes. And of course, the being wary of a friend of a friend of a friend. That kind of goes back to the idea of sourcing and being able to credit different sources that you get things from. So make sure that the information you're sharing is something that you have done your own research and your own independent research on, and always consider, different perspectives. So that is another tip that we have there. Being careful with funny jokes or memes. So I kind of got a little bit of a laugh out of the image to the left, where it's why don't dinosaurs talk? Because they're dead. Well, okay, it can be kind of funny. It can be, kind of dry, but you're always going to have people that think differently about the content that you share. And so sometimes it's best just use your best judgment. Is that going to strike up an emotion in somebody? Is that going to strike up? I could pull a lot of examples just from Twitter alone in the past, where I think judgment was not exactly used in those instances. So again, it's always safe bet to avoid politics, avoid, any heated conversations that may come of things, and be sensitive. That's a really simple aspect that you can bring into your content creation. Think before you type. I think sometimes it's like that rule of, maybe there's something that is affecting you. You've had a bad experience. You've had a really good experience. You want to bring in a little bit more rawness, and that's great. But I always say, if you type it out, wait 24 hours to send it. That way, when you look at it again before you send something, you can kind of give yourself your own checks and balances of, was I in the right mindset? Did I use my best judgment? How will people maybe perceive this? And then go ahead and share that out. And I say that with, with the other idea of, you don't want to overthink everything. It's social media. You want to be able to enjoy the experience of posting and marketing your business. But in doing so, always having that second judgment and your business hat on, knowing that what you're sharing is going to benefit and bring value to the people that you surround. And that's another great question, is how will it look in 1 year or 5 years? And that's a really, really big instance for social media, where we live in a time where things are constantly changing in our society for the good and sometimes for the bad. But when you look at a piece of content that you share, what is the longevity of that? And that goes back to the idea of, staying on brand, staying on your brand voice, but also being empathetic and understanding what timeline this may serve. That goes into the idea of leaving a digital legacy. There's a lot of stuff that never, ever leaves the internet. And the last thing you want is for something that you thought about or that you posted 5 years ago to come up and bite you, because, in our society, as it's changing or, something may surface, the last thing you want is for that to happen. So, in anything with the don'ts is just be authentic to yourself. Think of humans, think of being empathetic, and be sensitive to understanding how you can provide value to them without telling them what they need to do or how they need to think. All right, let's recap. It's not all about you. So I say this because a lot of times and a lot of platforms that we utilize every second of the day, we're being sold to. And a lot of times when you're on social media and we talk about the idea of providing value, it's not always about buy this, think this way, think this way. How can you become a thought leadership in your own space and your own community? So being a thought leader means that regardless of, maybe the industry that you're in, you're approaching your industry, you're approaching the conversations and your community in a way that is helpful and, again, providing value. So fill your page with content that is not only relevant to your business, but gives people a reason to engage with your brand that improves their everyday lives. So sending those texts and calls, how are you doing? How is the move? Is there anything I can do to support you? Turning off marketing automation unless it's aimed to be helpful. So I've had a few instances where I can't get out of the automation structure from some of these groups where it's every day I'm getting another text message, I'm getting new emails, they're in my LinkedIn. I am one of those people where if it's too many touch points, and maybe you could relate with me on this, but if there's too many touch points and there's just constant content being pushed at me, at some point, it doesn't matter who you are and what you sell, even if it's amazing. You've tuned me out. I've tuned you out. You've turned me off, and I want my privacy. I want my flexibility. And if you give me information that I value, then when I may need your services, I'm going to come right back to you. Using Facebook groups as a way to be helpful and not sell yourself. So I mentioned this in the beginning, and a little biased because we run the community for the Photofy Real Estate Solution, and I love seeing how collaborative our Facebook group has become and how it's been helpful for not just our agents and brokers, but and how they're running their real estate business, but on the secondary level of how these agents and brokers become marketers, and where their focus is on selling homes as it should be and providing an exceptional experience for their clients and customers. Marketing may be a secondhand kind of skill set that they have learned over the years. So that group is really collaborative, and I invite you all to join it and see ways that you can elevate that community. Whether you learned a new tip or there's some sort of algorithm change that you've found kind of a workaround, add that to the group. And it's also a great way for us at Fotify to learn more about what serves our agents best so that we can better our products and make them more efficient for everybody. I'd say that also considering starting a Facebook group. So there's a lot of different groups out there, a lot of different, sign on to here, join this, join that. But I think it could be helpful if you found a niche. So whether it's for your neighbors, it's a mom group, it's, groups that you're already part of that you start to add more content into and engage more into. At some point as agents and as brokers, you are the face of your own brand. You are the personal brand behind who it is and the experience that you provide. So by engaging that way, you can build more of those one-on-one relationships and become a thought leader in that space. So whether you're starting a group and you have a niche focus with that, or you are engaging in some of those groups, it's a really great space to be able to build community and learn from all of the community that gives you feedback. All right, demo time. So we're going to dive into a quick demo here. We've got about 5 minutes, and this is going to take you into two of the examples that I provided here. These are both templates, and one template we're going to show you how to add a headshot. I'm going to show you a bit more about stock images within the Photofy Real Estate Solutions 500,000 royalty-free stock images. And then we're also going to give you a little bit of a viewpoint into how to add your own logo and branding. So you'll see here that these are very similar. I based it off of a made-up specialty realty group.com. So I made up my own brand for this. And the idea here is to showcase consistency, but give you guys an idea of how you can utilize those templates. So once you have started with the Photofy Real Estate Solution, you will see a home screen that's going to look similar to this. So we're going to start with photo templates here. And in this library, you're going to have several different categories that you can find at the top. And you can scroll over or you can select a image within here. So here's that Find Your Dream Home. I'm going to look into the photo library here. I can use any of the branded images that we provided, or at the top, be able to go through any of the drives or areas that I might have my photos stored, including camera roll and albums. So once I select my photo, that'll automatically populate in here. And then I'm going to move on to colors. So I can start with standard, spectrum, patterns, or textures. For this, I'll go through spectrum. I can select a color on the image, or I can select a blue and find that dark blue that matches my brand. Next, I'm going to go ahead and update the text. So you can see that some of the text I'm going to keep. So I'll go with Find Your Dream Home, add some text into the subtitle here. And what's nice about that is you'll have several different areas. The text is going to be consistent here for you. So you're not trying to, find several different texts that don't match your brand. And you can really just make this as localized and relevant to your customer and whatever platform you're sending it on. I'll go ahead and update my website. So I'll just put in Fotify.com here. And the last thing I'm going to do is we're going to add that logo. So I've already added the logo that I created using Fotify here. You'll see add your logo and convert to PNG. Adding your logo will take you into your drive folders, or I'll select my logo, resize it for the image. And once I'm done with that, I'll click off the image and we're going to go ahead and share this. So with the share channels, you'll find that the images are automatically saved to the album, but you'll have all these different areas that you can share. So I selected here the Facebook Messenger, and you can also share to obviously your Instagram if you have Instagram on your phone. And there's a lot of different areas that you can go ahead and share to as well. So we're going to back up and we're going to go over to the home screen again, and I'm going to show you how to create an image with your headshot. So diving back into our photo templates, we're going to select photo templates and explore some other areas here that we want to create within. So I've selected this template, and I'm going to go ahead and in this instance show you our stock photos feature. So obviously, you're probably going to have your headshot saved somewhere on your phone, but for purposes of our stock imagery, simply all you're doing is adding in a keyword of what you're searching for. And you're going to be delivered thousands of different images that you can use. So maybe you're creating content for a holiday. Maybe you're creating content around a specific idea or theme. There is a great space to start. And the same thing with your MLS. If you have images saved in different drives, you can save that onto any of those areas there. So I've added the headshot. I've added a photo that I want to market. I've changed my background again here. And all I'm doing is just simply zooming in with my fingertips to showcase that house a little better. So another idea that I want to throw you guys here is, while I'm updating the text, we also have something called tokens. So once you sign up and you register, you're going to find a screen that pops up that asks you for a few lines of information. The only reason we use that information is so that we can pre-populate that text in our tokenized templates and artwork. So in those, when you select on one, as I did here, that we're going to see in just a second, you're going to find that all that information is pre-populated. So that saves you more time in the content creation process without having to update your name, your phone number, your name of your business, your email address, but you will also have the means to edit that as needed. So I like this. I've enjoyed creating this. I'm going to save this. So this is my headshot as I go through my templates here. There we go. I'm going to save this as a template. That way, anytime I want to access it, I already have my headshot up and I just need to change my text and my photo. And again, go ahead and share it out to your community. I'm going to text this over to our president, Matt, and So think about that as being able to have more of a one-on-one experience with your clients and customers. You can create a piece of content and text them directly based on, maybe that house that they've been looking for, their dream home, and having that available for them. All right, so that brings us to the end of our webinar. Again, my name is Angelique Boulding, and thank you for joining the webinar today about growing your network and supporting your community using the Facebook Real Estate Solution. I am again going to have those links for the Facebook page and the registration page in the description of this post. And look forward to collaborating and continuing the conversation with everybody. Again, I hope that there was a good amount of questions coming through. If you've not had your questions answered yet, stay tuned and someone from our support team will be sure to answer those shortly. So take care and stay well.